This is the Ohio AgNet from the Voice You Know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF and Zatavo soybeans, transforming the approach to soybean seed decision-making with trailblazing innovation and quality without compromise. I'm Ty Higgins. Heading to the Allen County Fair today and tomorrow for the midday broadcasts. Today's coverage brought to you by Nature's premium liquid fertilizer since 1946. And tomorrow, our broadcast sponsored by Tempty Trailers. Check out their new location in Sidney, Ohio. The FTC is investigating fertilizer markets. Below normal temperatures move in this week and pushing back against imported beef. This morning's news feed is delivered by Ebert's Field Seeds, proven local seed performance for Ohio farmers. It's time to start planting Ebert's. Call 937-473-2521 or visit online at ebertsseeds.com. President Donald Trump's plan to temporarily increase beef imports to lower prices for American consumers is drawing strong opposition from cattle producers and industry organizations, including the National Cattlemen's Beef Association and the Ohio Cattlemen's Association. Trump announced on Truth Social that the U.S. will allow up to 300,000 metric tons of beef products for ground beef to be imported over the next 90 days without an out-of-quota tariff. Trump said the imported beef will be sold at 25% below current market prices. Online now at ohioagnet.com, the response from NCBA and OCA. The debate comes as the U.S. cattle industry continues to operate with historically tight supplies, while consumers face elevated beef prices. The central question for producers is whether stronger market prices will provide enough incentive to rebuild the national herd, or whether increased imports and government intervention could weaken those signals. There's a new podcast online now at ohioagnet.com. Fertilizer prices have become one of the biggest concerns facing farmers, particularly at a time when commodity prices are putting tremendous pressure on farm margins. Ohio Corn and Wheat is calling for more competition and transparency in the fertilizer market, and the Federal Trade Commission is now involved. Tad Nicholson is Executive Director of Ohio Corn and Wheat.
I don't think you could put two farmers together without the topic coming up about how high inputs have gone, and they start the list of inputs at fertilizer because it's just been unexplainable of what's going on. And it's really a long-term thing that has been going on for several years. And Ohio Corn and Wheat, along with some of our fellow states across the Midwest, have all just said, we just can't just sweep this under the rug. Something's going on. Let's try to figure out what it is and see if we can get somebody to take a peek under the hood. That topic is something that we talk about almost daily.
Market concentration seems to be at the heart of many of these concerns. How concentrated is the fertilizer industry, and what does that mean for farmers when they're trying to buy these inputs?
Well, I don't know what the definition of too concentrated is, but I'm pretty sure when one company controls about 80% of the market, that's veering towards too concentrated. And so obviously we've had a concentration in the fertilizer industry. You can tell that by just how few manufacturers there are out there. And it is tough. It's a tough business to get in. It's mining. So, you know what it's like to start a mine in the United States these days. It's not something that you or I could just go and do and start competing. But something has gone wrong here. Somehow the industry has been merged and consolidated to a point where there's just no competition out there. And that leads to funny things happening in price. It's anything but market fundamentals that set the fertilizer price today. And so it's a market that obviously needs to have some sort of federal investigation.
Also on the podcast, we talk about diversification with Farm Credit Mid-America. Rudy Pitzer-Perry is Regional Vice President of Ag Lending.
We've always seen some level of diversification. You know, traditionally, a lot of farmers will think maybe I should expand acres or go into another crop or, start raising a different type of livestock. And those things are still happening. But I was just on a farm yesterday, and one of the farmers was telling me about how important, in his words, his side hustle were to help keep his entire operation strong financially during downtimes like this. And more people are thinking in that way.
Listen and watch the new podcast now online at ohioagnet.com. Let's get a check of the forecast now, brought to you by Seed Genetics Direct, the #1 fastest growing and largest Ohio-based independent seed company. Here's Ryan Martin.
Decent start, full sunshine today and tomorrow. Low humidity, great dry down. Not a lot of complaints out here across the eastern Corn Belt. I think we'll get that through most of Wednesday as well as we approach the midnight hour Wednesday night, starting to see a little bit of moisture hold together from a system coming through the Great Lakes and upper Midwest. That may throw some on-again, off-again showers into northern parts of Ohio for early early Thursday, but I'm looking at coverage very, very minor, probably less than 20%, a few hundredths to a few tenths, that is all. Then we see mixed clouds and sunshine through the balance of the week, no major precipitation, but just on again, off again clouds, and that stays right on into the weekend. It's starting to see some scattered showers come through overnight Sunday night through Monday the 31st, quarter to 3/4 of an inch there. Cooler temperatures coming in behind that for the heart of next week. As a matter of fact, a bit below normal. Overall, I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Ryan, thank you. We've talked a lot about what the heavy rains over the past couple of weeks have done for crops, but how's it impacted the livestock industry? Joel Penorwood has that story.
Heavy August rainfall creating some challenges for livestock producers trying to keep manure application and storage on schedule. Ohio State University Extension Manure Management Field Specialist Glenn Arnold joins us, says keep in mind that here midway through the month, some producers have seen roughly twice what they've seen in August the past couple of years, and in some areas, plenty more. That has kept some manure haulers out of fields and added considerably more water to outdoor storage ponds.
Especially for people who collect the runoff water from their lots and have large outdoor manure ponds, because every inch of water on an acre of ground is about 27,154 gallons. So when you look at someone who might have a 5 or 8 acre pond and receive 6, 8, 10 inches of rain, you're pretty close to getting into 500,000 gallons of extra liquid that's going to have to be pumped out at some point.
He says the additional rainwater also dilutes the nutrient concentration of liquid manure. Could mean more pumping and additional trips across fields later this year. Nothing that's not manageable, he says, but just more. For now, producers waiting for a stretch of drier weather to regain some of those application windows. And when fields do become fit,
we want to observe our setbacks are pretty important. When we talk about surface application of manure on a vegetated field, we talk about 35 feet from the edge. Non-vegetated, it's more like 100 feet. So we want to look at that because when you get into these rainfall patterns, we seem to catch them all right now. And we just need to be super cautious when we get out in those fields again to realize that we could catch some more big rains in the future. So observe those setback distances when we're doing our manure application.
He says producers could still get back on track if more typical rainfall returns through the rest of August and early September. That's Glenn Arnold of Ohio State joining us talking manure application in this wet season. For the Ohio AgNet, I'm Joel Penorwood.
Thank you, Joel. Although the corn crop here in the U.S. has a little ways to go, we're getting a better idea of how it's coming about. But how are things looking in Brazil? We'll have that coming up next in today's featured audio as the Ohio AgNet continues.
Mom would have been 31, sold them 30,000.
Get ready to bid on the heavy equipment and vehicles you need in a Ritchie Brothers Midwest Regional Auction happening September 24th. Inventory is housed at Minneapolis, Kansas City, Chicago, Columbus, Detroit, and Lincoln locations. Choose from a wide selection of construction and transportation equipment. Don't miss this great opportunity. Visit rbauction.com/Chicago to sign up. Again, that's rbauction.com/Chicago.
Welcome back to the Ohio AgNet. I'm Ty Higgins. It is a global marketplace, so corn production in Brazil certainly impact the way things go here in the U.S. How are things looking in South America? Dusty Sonnenberg has that in today's featured audio.
Joining me today, we have Luis Fernando Roque. He is a market intelligence coordinator with HedgePoint Global Markets, and also Chris Trant. He's here in the United States as head of U.S. agriculture for HedgePoint. Gentlemen, thanks so much for your time this morning. We want to talk today about the Brazilian corn crop and some estimates that HedgePoint has out there, a little bit higher than what the USDA came up with. Chris, do you want to start us off maybe what the USDA numbers were and where HedgePoint came off as we look at where Brazil potentially could be with their harvest of corn?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. And Dusty, good to be here again. Everyone's talking in the trade about the results last week of the USDA. Corn was the main topic. And from the U.S. perspective, that was obviously about our yield. There's some debate within the trade on what will matter more, the higher corn area or the lower yield action. And we can debate that. We have pro farmers starting today, too, as well. So I'll be curious to hear what people say from the Ohio tour here, Dusty. But what I can tell you is with HedgePoint, our teams in Brazil, they have a very good pulse on the market. And I tend to defer to them for all things related to Brazil. But USDA for Brazil came in for the 26-27 crop at a 139 for corn. And then last year, the USDA still has a 140, which I think is fairly close to HedgePoint's. But Luis, please give some more context there if you would.
Hello, everyone. This is Chris. Glad to see Glad to talk to you. Here in Brazil, we are talking about 140.3 million tons for the Brazilian corn crop, a little higher than USDA. And maybe we can see a corn crop closer to 142 million tons. So it was a big crop. It was a great crop in the most part of the main producing states in the central part of Brazil. We had some problems in states like Goiás, a big producer state, but Mato Grosso, the biggest producer state in Brazil, harvested a big crop, and this bring to us more supply to this year. Maybe we can sell more to the international market, but we have some problems with Iran, and this is a big thing. It's something that I have to keep an eye on the next months, because Iran is the biggest Brazilian corn buyer, and they are buying less than last year from Brazil. So this is pretty important.
Yeah, I find that interesting. I had no idea that Iran was such a big customer for Brazil, the largest where Brazilian corn goes to. Talk a little bit, as we're looking globally, potentially some French production issues out there and market opportunities. What do you know about what's going on in France, Luis?
Yeah, we have some problems in France regarding corn especially, but with other crops too. And this could lower a little bit the production of European Union, of course. And this could open room for not just for U.S. to sell more for the international market, but also to South America, especially Brazil and Argentina. So have to keep an eye on the French output of this year, because this could benefit not just Brazilian and Argentinian corn, but also the U.S. corn. So yeah, they have big problems, especially with the heat wave that hits the northern hemisphere between May and June and part of July. So this is a big thing and could benefit our corn here in South America and U.S. too.
My guests again today have been Luis Fernando Roque. He's the Market Intelligence Coordinator for HedgePoint Global Markets, and Chris Trant here in the United States. He's head of U.S. Agriculture for HedgePoint. We've been discussing the Brazilian corn production outlook, as well as some of the markets they have, challenges with geopolitical issues in Iran, and what French production issues may mean both for Brazilian corn and corn here in the U.S. Reporting for the Ohio AgNet, I'm Dusty Sonnenberg.
Thank you, Dusty. Markets and analysis next as the Ohio AgNet rolls on.
Looking for heavy equipment but don't know where to buy? Purple Wave Auction has you covered. Always online and always no reserve. It's your destination for construction or ag equipment ready to work. We even sell semis, trailers, and fleet equipment for your operation. Best part? It's free to join. Head to purplewave.com. That's purplewave.com. Sign up for a free account and start bidding today. Purple Wave Auction, the easiest and most straightforward way to buy and sell equipment.
Welcome back to the Ohio AgNet. I'm Ty Higgins, and this morning's market analysis is brought to you by Louis Dreyfus Company in Upper Sandusky. Opening to receive soybeans starting September 1. So Ohio farmers, get your RFID tags this week from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call 419-731-7100 to find out more. Here's Ryan Martin.
A mixed bag in the marketplace on Friday. It seems the markets wanted to work through a little consolidation, and who could blame them after a nice run for the week? When the closing bell rang, we were higher on corn, about 5 to 6 cents. The soybean numbers up about 1 to 4 cents, and the wheat markets were largely lower. Chicago, Kansas City, and Minneapolis markets. Should be an interesting start to the week here after the numbers came out from the Pro Farmer Crop Tour, and they gave a number of roughly 173. I think it was a range, 172 to 175 on corn yield across the countryside. Now, you got to take the Pro Farmer Crop Tour numbers with a grain of salt. As a matter of fact, it's an open secret in the industry that you got to add a good 3 to 5 bushels to whatever Pro Farmer says. They're eternally bullish. They've undercut USDA 19 out of the last 20 years. So that should tell you something. But it should hit the marketplace today and could be an interesting ride. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thank you, Ryan. The latest check of markets brought to you by FS Envision and High Soy. Seed made for this ground. Learn more at fsseed.com/Ohio. Corn for September at last check up 12.5 points at 496 1/4. December 524.5 and 13 cents to the plus side. Soybeans for September down 5 1/4 at 1219 3/4. New crop November 1232 1/4 down 7 1/4. And September wheat 694 1/4 up by 12 3/4. After Friday's trade, August live cattle 30 cents lower at 223.05. Feeder cattle for September, 329.02, up by a dime, and lean hogs for October, 80.87, up 65 points. For the Ohio AgNet, I'm Ty Higgins.